Hi there, it's Miss Payne, and today we're going to talk about a theory called trickle down economics. This is also called let me get that out of the way, trickle down economics, or also known as supply side economics. So, trickle down economics was the prevailing economic policy of the 1920s. This means that this was the main economic policy in the 1920s. And trickle down economics has historically been a Republican economic policy employed by the Republican Party in the United States. Here's how it works. At the top of our economic pyramid, we have the US government. And the United States government is responsible for paying for a lot of things, right, for the American public. So, for example, right, it's the government's duty to protect Americans. And they do that against foreign and domestic threats using our military services, right, the branches of the military. Well, how does the US government pay for the military? Well, they use the money in their budget in order to pay for all of those things. Well, where did they get their money, right? Well, the money coming into the US government, it comes in through taxes, okay? And taxes are paid by Americans. So let me I'm going to circle taxes, right? Okay, into the US government. Okay. Now, other things that the government pays for. The government also pays for things like our highways and roadways, general infrastructure. Our local governments, also funded by taxes, right, pay for things like stoplights and stop signs and the painting that's done on the roadways. So everything related to our roads paid for by taxes and our government. Public schools are funded by both the federal government and state governments. Our policemen and our firemen, even our teachers, are paid using tax dollars paid to the government. And then the government's responsibility is to provide these services to Americans. So the government gets their money through taxes paid by every worker in the United States. Okay. So, trickle down economics is the theory that if the US government cuts taxes, takes in less money from big businesses, and instead gives that money back to big businesses, then those those big businesses then have the opportunity to, let me draw around that. They have the opportunity to take any money they save and they can invest that money back into their country, their company. So money is going to be given via tax cuts back to big businesses, okay? So we're going to label this here as tax. I don't know why I'm writing this with my mouse. Tax cuts. Okay. All right. Those big businesses then have several things that they can do with the that money that they're getting from the government, right? Big businesses can do several things. So let's identify what those things are. So first, those big businesses can expand. And they would be expanding by opening new factories or expanding their product line in order to produce more products, different products than they have before. Another option that those big businesses have is they can do like research and development, where they can create new products or invest in the research to fix the products maybe that they're already making or to improve them. Or if they've got Sony, for example, has a PlayStation 4, but they wanted to do a PlayStation 5, right? So that might be like research to create a new product in their line. Another option that they have is to save the money, right? Or to invest it in money-making opportunities. So these companies have lots of opportunity then to take that money that the government has given them and spend it, right? So what we end up with is, and I'm wondering how I changed my color. I don't know how to do it. Okay, so what this means is that we're going to end up with more money trickling down. Oh, I changed my color somehow. I have no idea how. I think I'm on a highlighter now. Maybe that's why. So we've got more money that's toggling down, right? And the money then is going to continue to, as we say, trickle down to the next level, right? So it's gone from the government to big businesses, and from big businesses, they're going to pass that money on to someone else. So if the company expands, what this might look like is hiring more workers, right? And or it could be that they are building new factories, right? So these are ways that they might expand, right? Their research, if they research, then what they're doing is they are paying like scientists or engineers, etc., in order to do the research, or they can save and invest their money in banks. Okay. So what this is then is a continuing of sending the money down the line. That's a terrible dollar sign. They're sending the money down the line. If they research, they're sending the money down the line. So here we see, again, those original tax cuts up at the top. That money is trickling down through society. So if they build new factories, then what that means is they're going to need to hire more workers in order to build the factories and then to put workers in those factories to do the work that needs to be done. If they are going to research, then they're going to be hiring scientists and engineers, etc. So at the bottom of all of this, right, is you and me. We are the average American worker, right? I am not a big business owner, nor are you, right? We are the average American. And so here we are at the bottom of that pyramid. And what's happening as new factories are being built and folks are being hired is that you and I get a job, right? Oh, look, people are being hired here. You and I have a job. And that money might not just be to hire more workers, but it might be that they actually pass on their savings to their employees by raising their wages, right? If they're paying scientists and engineers, they're hiring more people. So here are you and I, and here comes that money trickling all the way down to us, right? Here we are. So trickle down economics is the idea that by giving big businesses back some money, that those big businesses are going to pass it down the economic pyramid to those at the bottom, which are the millions of American workers across this country. Now, there's a problem, and that problem is that the government is still responsible for paying for all those things I talked about at the beginning: the military, the infrastructure, the schools, the police, the fire. I mean, all of the different things that our government does, right? They're protecting the environment and they're protecting workers, and there's all sorts of government policies and cabinet positions and all these people, right, that are working to make our country move the way it's supposed to. Well, if we are going to pay for that, right, then we need to have money coming into our government to do that. But we right now are sending money out. We're giving tax cuts to people, to big businesses. Where is the money going to be coming from to continue to pay for all of the things that need to be paid for? Well, big businesses are getting money back. That means that they're either not paying taxes at all, which is the case for some of our mega businesses like Amazon and Microsoft, pay $0 in federal taxes. They are not giving anything to the government to help support the economy. Instead, they're doing this, right? They say, well, we're hiring people, we employ, right? We're doing research, and we're saving and we're investing some of that money. So big businesses aren't giving money to the government. So where's the money coming from? Where's this tax money coming from? Well, if you guessed that the taxes on you and I are going to go up, you guessed right. American workers are going to pay the taxes to fund this whole process. So while big businesses pay less in taxes, American workers like you and I are going to have to pay more in taxes to support this system. So that's part of the problem as to why trickle-down economics don't work. So another problem is, I really don't know how to change the color here. I'm going to look back later and be like, oh, I was so silly. It was so easy to do. Ha, there it is. Okay, so another problem, oh, I don't know if that's going to do it. So another problem is that the big businesses have the opportunity then to save, to save their money, right? And if they save their money, what you'll notice is that there's no out arrow coming out of save invest. The money, now that I know how to do this is a stop sign, right? The money is not going to go past this point. That's a weird stop sign. But here it is. It's going to stop right here. There's going to be no money trickling down to you and I. And what big businesses do, based on 100 years of studying this, is that big businesses funnel the vast majority of the money they get back. They funnel into their savings and their investment portfolios in order to pay their shareholders more. So what trickle-down economics does is it widens the gap between the rich and the poor. The rich are going to get richer, and the poor, which in this instance, right, is you and I, because we are not at the top of this economic pyramid, this gap is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is the failure then of, this is a big gap, this is the failure of trickle-down economics, is that most of the money goes to savings and never makes its way down to you and I. Meanwhile, remember what happened to you and I? Very little extra money coming in because most of the money is being saved, which means this is very little coming to you and I, and still our taxes are going up. So we're not really making much more, but we're having to pay more in taxes to the government so that the government can give more money to big businesses. So trickle-down economics, what it does is it makes the rich richer, it makes the poor poorer. And this was the economic policy employed in the 1920s, and it is the economic policy that was employed by Ronald Reagan in the 1980s, and it is the economic policy that was employed by the Trump administration in 2017. This is exactly the style of economic tax code that we are using right now in this country. All right, I hope that helps explain it. Thank you for watching and listening.